Senna is arguably one of the most famous champions in Wild Rift. She has tons of utility in the game and is known to be an absolute menace if not taken down quickly. The champion also exhibits one of the most powerful ultimates in the game that can absolutely thwart enemy teams if not tackled properly. Here's how you can play the champion, including a complete build guide, what skills you should be leveling, and what runes make sense on the champion in Wild Rift. It's the turn to learn everything about Senna, the Redeemer, a champion who refuses to lose hope, wielding darkness along with light and seeking to end the black mist by turning it against itself, with every blast of her relic weapon redeeming the souls lost within. Before we begin, you can like and subscribe to my channel. First of all, let's look at Senna's active and passive abilities. With her passive, Absolution, whenever units die near Senna, their souls will be periodically trapped by the black mist. Senna can attack these souls to free them, absorbing the mist that held them in death. The mist fuels her relic cannon's power with increased attack damage, attack range, and critical strike chance. Attacks from Senna's relic cannon take longer to fire, deal bonus damage, and briefly grant her a portion of her target's move speed. Let's move on to her active skills. First, her first skill, Piercing Darkness. From the twin barrels of her relic cannon, Senna will fire a unified beam of light and shadow through a target, healing allies and damaging enemies. Next, her second skill, which is Last Embrace, where Senna sends forth a wave of black mist. If it hits an enemy, it latches onto them hungrily, rooting them and everything nearby after a brief delay. Next is her Curse of the Black Mist, in which Senna draws the mist she has stored in her weapon into a storm around her, embracing darkness and becoming a wraith within. Allies who enter the area will be camouflaged and also appear as wraiths as the mist shrouds them. Wraiths gain increased move speed, are unselectable, and hide their identities. And her final ultimate, Dawning Shadow, where Senna calls upon the relic stones of fallen sentinels, splitting her relic cannon into a holy array of shadow and light. She then fires a global beam that shields allies from harm while damaging enemies caught in the center. Before knowing her builds and all, let's look at strengths and weakness of her. Her strengths are really effective long-range poke and passive procurement agency. Her poke also allows her to heal up with her Piercing Darkness Q, so she is really good against poke. Her Last Embrace W can allow her to CC an entire group of enemies with utmost ease. This ability becomes very powerful when she is fighting in closed spaces. Her Curse of the Black Misty can allow her to sneak an entire team through non-warded area and surprise an enemy team. This can be beneficial while setting up death brushes. Now for her weaknesses, she is very immobile and can be killed easily if she is all in it. This can shut her down during the early game and force her to play defensively. Her enemies can look to all in her as soon as she misses her Last Embrace W, so she needs to use that ability quite carefully. She will be more focused on getting her passive stacks in order to be able to carry them later in the game. The Curse of the Black Misty invisibility can be easily countered with a properly placed control ward. Her Piercing Darkness Q costs a lot of mana as well and can make her run out of resources if she uses that ability in a carefree manner. You know her strengths and weakness. You have a choice now to either continue watching the video thinking it's good to play or exit as it's not your type. So, you have decided to watch. Now, for runes and spells recommended for Senna. First, you need to take Airy, which is a great resource due to its utility value, as it can damage enemies and protect allies. Next, weakness, impairing the movement of enemy champions marks them for 5 seconds. While marked, they take 5% increased damage. And for third is loyalty, grants hybrid resistance to you and a nearby ally. And at last, take Hunter, Genius, grants additional ability haste for each unique takedown. Senna is picked in the bot lane either as the main support or as a flex pick for the ADC role if you are good enough with fasting strategies. Besides, her summoner spells are a standard, not a surprise, as you need to pick up Flash, allows you to have more offensive options when entering combat, as well as helps you escape from dangerous situations. And for another, you can take Exhaust, a good tool that slows an enemy champion's movement speed and reduces their damage dealt for a few seconds. Or you can take Barrier. Now for the best items of Senna. Her items will be focused on increasing her abilities window by giving you more mana, ability haste, and even your offensive stats with some additional AD and AP, opening the chance to become both a support and a second carry. For first take Manamune, grants mana each time you use his abilities, in addition to increasing damage based on his available mana. Then take Gluttonous Greaves, grants Omnivampirism, giving you a better chance of survival thanks to its lifesteal. We recommend using them with either Stasis or Locket Enchant. Then take Black Cleaver, grants bonus health and damage, as well as drastically reducing enemy armor with each attacker skill damage. Then take Mortal Reminder, increase armor penetration by 30% and with it, any physical damage you deal to enemy champions will apply grievous wounds. And for defense take Guardian Angel, its revive effect allows you to fully attack squarely without risking giving away a kill along the way. To complete her build, we recommend choosing between Yaomu's Ghostblade or Duskblade of Drakthar for more armor penetration and cooldown reduction, Rapid Fire Cannon for bigger attack speed and range, Frozen Mallet for additional AD and slows, and as an alternative for Boots of Swiftness with the best movement speed. Now for this item, take it according to the situation. And these builds will be changed in the future as this is just the initial build to help you guys out. Now, for support Senna game plan, for early game. Get level 2 first and look for a favorable trade. Gaining an early health lead is key to getting a kill later on down the line. Level 2 in the bottom lane is the first minion wave followed by the next 3 melee minions. Your goal during the laning phase is to look for kills and abuse the enemy as often as you can. Try to play aggressively frequently to gain a lead. After destroying the bottom lane tower, rotate to the mid lane and try to take that tower. This will open up the map and give your team a gold lead. For mid-game. As a support, you're quite vulnerable and can easily be killed when going to the ward, when you're moving around the map, and when you're alone. To reduce the chances of dying and getting caught out of position, try and stick with your team at all times. Keep a constant eye on what major objective is spawning next. If it's spawning soon, make sure you place vision around the objective as quickly and as safely as possible before retreating to safety. Having a vision around major objectives is key. Look for picks during the mid-game. If you can pick someone off with the help from your allies, you can abuse their death timer to earn more gold and possibly take a tower, an objective or get more kills. And for late game. Ward major objectives and place vision in high traffic areas in the late stages of the game. Keep them warded so you can see the enemy move around the map and see them starting the objective. Stay with your team at all times. Avoid moving around the map alone so you do not get caught out. Getting caught out will result in your team having to play 4v5. Do not ward alone unless you know where the enemy is. Peel for your allies as much as possible. Keeping them alive for as long as possible in team fights is a must in order to win the game. Now for AADC Senna. For early game. Play safe for the first few levels. You need time to come online, and you shouldn't be fighting unless you have a clear early advantage. Once you have a few levels under your belt, you can start to play aggressively and look for aggressive plays. However, you will rely on your support to do the heavy lifting early on. After destroying the bottom lane tower, rotate to the mid lane and try to take that tower. This will open up the map and give your team a gold lead. For mid-game, try and stick with your support throughout the mid-game. You're quite vulnerable and easy to kill if you're on your own. By staying with your support, your survivability will increase. Continue picking up the farm in the side lanes when no team fights are occurring, but spend as little time away from your team. You need gold and XP to buy items, and if you fall behind, it will be unlikely that you'll be able to dish out damage in fights. Look for picks with your support jungler to get kills and increase your lead. If you kill a key target, you could make the call for Baron. For the late game. Just like in the mid-game, you should stick with your support throughout the later parts of the game. Do not go around the map alone as you will die easily. Do not play super aggressively in team fights. Just kite and auto-attack the nearest enemy champion. If you walk too far forward, the enemy will focus you and take you down. Continue to kite in team fights and consistently adapt your positioning. Avoid standing still in fights as you'll be an easy target. Few tips for Senna at the end. Here is a list of quick minor information. If building Manamune, you can start the match with tier Q an ally champion for free stacks and refund for a D blade. This forces you to level up Q as soon as the match starts, so don't do this if you have strong level 1 champions, possible invade. Avoid building defensive items Guardian Angel, Mercurial Scimitar or Maw of Malmortius as support since they're really expensive and a selfish way of spending gold. Also, you aren't really the main target in teamfights. Using E to return to lane faster is generally a bad idea because of the long cooldown. Always start with Q when hitting towers, you will have more DPS that way. When using Q in a tower, try to line up with other teammates to heal them. Using Q to pick an out-of-range mist on the ground in bad matchups is worth. Allies and enemies can dodge your Q if they're fast enough or if they use a mobility spell. And for farming ADC, fasting and support. Same as mid-game, but with a much stronger teamfight potential. If you die by overextending or poor warding, your team will lose the most important champion of the match and will probably lose the game. Don't get excited about being a damage monster, you're still a piece of paper and everyone wants to shut you down. And here are some combos. Thanks for watching the video.